John Lewis began to express the purpose of his life by the 1960s as a notorious civil rights activist. From 1987 onward, he would go on to serve 15 terms in Congress. Though he advocated nonviolence and stressed forgiveness, healing, and compassion, he was known to be anything from very direct to aggressive and militant in stating his views, and he certainly didn't shy away from dangerous situations. Over the years, he was arrested numerous times during the course of protests, and when in his 20s, he was nearly killed after being beaten severely by police. In 1961, he became one of the Freedom Riders, African-American men determined to defy laws that prohibited black men from riding next to white men on buses. He was assaulted and badly injured, but he persisted through the beatings and even temporary imprisonments. In Birmingham, Alabama, he and his Freedom Rider partners were beaten with baseball bats, chains, lead pipes, and stones. At one point, Lewis was hit in the head with a wooden crate. In 1965, he participated in the now famous Selma to Montgomery March, coincidentally March 7th, 1965, and endured tear gas and a dreadful beating from Alabama troopers. His skull was fractured, but he was able to escape, though the incident left him with physical scars the rest of his life. In the Vedic system, astrologers label the planet with most degrees in any chart the Atmakaraka, and assign it a kind of rulership of the entire chart. It is said to rule the soul, and though the natural Atmakaraka is always the sun, the Chara, or variable Atmakaraka, is the planet with highest degrees. Though I myself don't go quite this far, since I understand astrology as very fluid and prefer my main mantra to always be, it depends, meaning each chart is unique, and only after I assess everything is it safe to decide what factors rise to the top of the heap. Still, I do consider the Atmakaraka to be important and something to keep in mind along with other big points like the sun, moon, ascendant, ruler of the sun, etc. In Lewis' chart, we see the peace, compassion, and forgiveness embodied in his Pisces sun and Mercury, which, opposed by Neptune, adds vision and idealism, an urge to bring something into reality which is possible but not yet manifest. This is one of the key powers of Neptune, when it shows up on the high end, of course. We've talked plenty about the nefarious delusion and deceptiveness that shows up on the low end with people like Trump. Notice that Lewis had several planets in Aries, and that Saturn becomes the Atmakaraka in this chart, possibly explaining his strong connection to activism and the militant postures he was willing to adopt in his cause. If you put aside signs and simply look at geometric proximity, you notice a Saturn-Mars conjunction that squares Pluto. Astrologers have long noted Saturn-Pluto in hard aspect can correlate with violence and that it can happen in the midst of crowds. This three-planet connection is very harsh energy, indeed, the kind that might find you with a fractured skull, but it can also give you tremendous discipline, determination, and the willingness and ability to withstand harsh conditions. Lewis was certainly a stellar example of all this. The closer he is born to the earliest hours of the day, the more the moon in Leo gets drawn into the square, and would therefore add even more energy into it. But if he is born from early afternoon onward, then the moon degrees tighten its square to Uranus, which in some ways does the same thing, heightening the urge to rebel and to go his own way, come what may. Uranus loves to take chances in the name of something it considers important. In 1961, Saturn was in the late degrees of Capricorn, which makes a lot of sense, since it would have been squaring itself, and therefore acting as a motivating influence for Lewis to take action against the perceived injustices of the day. This came at the cost of injury, but he was not deterred. By 1965, it was going through the early part of Pisces, his sun sign, and this correlates with the Selma March. Once again, he was badly injured. He passed away yesterday at the age of 80, suffering from pancreatic cancer. Notice Neptune is still connected to his Mercury. It'll be stationing almost exactly at those degrees in late November. And Virgo is definitely a sign you connect to the pancreas, an organ of digestion and assimilation. Also, the current Capricorn conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn has been challenging his Atmakaraka Saturn this whole year, And just now, Saturn isn't too far away from making a direct square to it. Depending on the degree position of the moon in Leo, it would be in line with a transiting square from Uranus and Taurus. Anything from 5 to 10 degrees would fit this precisely. May John Lewis, a great civil rights leader and public servant, rest in peace.